Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it is a bird. It's the Quirky Bird Show with your host, Robin Savage.
Hey, welcome to the Quirky Bird Show here on theartsradio.com. We have got a late start to the show. I'm sorry. Anyone who knows me personally knows I never have my ducks in a row, and happened again today. So it's awesome. As you see, I am writing just me, no shotgun, no co-host, no person next to me. We've got a great show. I've got a couple people that I want to talk to. We got some guy named Frank holding on the line. My good friends Juanita Lolita and Michelle Miller-Harrington are going to call in. And as always, we have a quirky question of the day. And today's quirky question of the day is about our topic. And I always like to have different topics about comedy. And today's topic is about Christian comedy. And so my quirky question of the day is, if you're a Christian comedian, and let me actually see if I can read my own question, which is something that Facebook doesn't want to seem to have. Okay. How does a comic who's a Christian comedian stay true to their Christian values when they're at a gig and their audience prefers blue comedy? And I believe on the line we have funny man and Christian comedian extraordinaire, some guy named Frank. You there, Frank?
Yes, ma'am, I am here.
Okay. How are you doing?
Can you hear?
I can.
I'm doing okay.
It sounds like you're in a giant tunnel, like you're holding echo things over your mouth. Other than that, it's a great connection.
Other than that, that's the big transition. Other than that, it's the same as but.
Yeah.
But that noise, I can pull over. I'm driving. That's why you hear such excesses. I turned the AC off. That helped. I don't know.
Yeah. The windows down would really make it sound excellent too.
I could do that. I charge extra, but
now
not on Tuesdays after 7:30. I go into a pro bono kind of windows down.
Now, Francis, I don't have a co-host. I'm going to make you my I guess unofficial co-host. I'll pretend you're right next to me. So since you're my unofficial co-host, who's invisibly riding shotgun, I will let you be the first one to answer the quirky question of the day. And I know you've probably been in this situation before. How does a comic stay true to their Christian values when they're at a gig where the audience prefers blue comedy?
Well, I would say, the key verse in, my walk with God and being a Christian is from out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. In other words, what garbage in, garbage out, what you're made out of is ultimately going to come to the surface and get spit out of the microphone. If I wasn't walking true to God, then that issue would probably come out in the mic, and I wouldn't be doing comedy in churches too long.
No. But have you been in a place? And I've been this as a clean comedian. I'm not necessarily a Christian comedian, but I'm a clean comedian. And I've been in situations where I'm at a gig and I'm doing my thing, and you can kind of feel that the audience doesn't like it. How do you handle that as a Christian comedian? Do you just stick to your guns with what you're doing? I mean, how do you handle a situation when you know that what you're kind of dishing out isn't what they're wanting to hear?
I just stick to my guns. I can't compromise on who I am in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Now,
yep, and if we start trying to placate the masses with something that's not us, then, they can sniff that out quicker than anything. And, then your ship's going to sink that much quicker.
See, that's a good point. See, I was always told to have a a clean set and a dirty set. But for me, I think with Christian comedians, it's a little bit more, because it's not like, I just do funny or clean, or I just do funny or dirty. Like it's within your moral code not to do something that you wouldn't feel right about. So that's why I'm always sort of curious, like how you would handle when and you've probably been up against the audiences that are just blind drunk and it's a late night crowd.
Yeah, I've been to those open mics too. Yeah, you just, I think at any level you're gonna have good nights and you're gonna have bad nights. You need the bad ones once in a while. You need the downturns to help you realize where you've been and appreciate the good ones better. I try to be universal, and I think my personality type. I think people look at me and they don't expect anything blue out of me.
No.
I just think I think if I started spitting out crude humor, I think that'd be to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I've been told that I look, congruence is a big thing. You kind of look the part you play.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Like when you see Pretty Paul, you're looking at Pretty Paul and you say, this can't end up good.
And it usually doesn't.
No disrespect to him, but he's true to who he is, and I respect that. I appreciate that.
That's actually a very good point. Not last week, but the week before, I had Anaria and Pretty Paul on, and we were doing kind of the juxtaposition of Christian comedy. We were talking about blue comedy, and they said the same thing. I mean, you really kind of have to be who you are and comfortable in your own jokes in order to sell them. And you're right. If you're not really comfortable selling blue material, it's going to be a little bit harder for the audience to believe it because you're not giving of yourself of who you really are.
Yeah, and I like that about a lot of the local comics. While some of their material may make me want to run from the room screaming like a little girl, they're all true to themselves. They are who they are, and they don't apologize for it. I went on an eye opener to this was I went on a cruise last summer, and of course I checked out the comics, and they have to do a family-friendly show, and they have to do, an R-rated show.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys did an R-rated show, and he was good. He was very good at it. Excellent, I would say.
Uh-huh.
But you could tell during his family-friendly show, it wasn't really who he was. It really wasn't the natural him up there. You could tell he was stifled, and he couldn't,
yes.
be truly who he was. And that was an eye-opener for me.
Yeah, and it's right. I mean, it's kind of the core at who you are, and if you're a little bit more brash and naturally, I think you're right. I think it's going to sell it. Real quick, I do want to give a shout out. That's my thing that I do here on the Quirky Question of the Day. The folks who took the time to answer. My friend Mary Tischbein, Long Island Mary. She says it's a challenge to be Christian in society in general, but that's the calling. Stay strong, knowing where you're funny is the key. Whether it's Christian or cringe humor, your base material and your voice are dictated by your worldview, not a particular crowd desires. Funny is funny. I do believe that, and that's kind of exactly what we talked about. You kind of have to be true to yourself, and funny is funny. I mean, sometimes even if you go up against the crowd and you think, I don't know if they're going to like me. I mean, if you're truly funny, I mean, funny's funny.
Yeah. Another cruise ship story that comes to mind is Dale Jones talks about. He did a Disney cruise one time and one time only.
Oh,
it just was not his. And Dale's hysterical, I'm sure you know.
I was going to say, yeah, Dale's really funny.
Dale's one of the top guys out there. And for him to not go over on a Disney cruise, it just wasn't a good fit. And I love the story. He has to be put off in the next port of call.
Oh, really?
He didn't want to stay. He didn't even want to stay on the ship. He told them the atmosphere he needs and the setup he needs, and they didn't even listen to.
Yeah, that's funny because Dale's really, really he's pretty clean, so I would figure that would be a good fit. But if it's not, it's just not. A couple more shout outs. David, and I always butcher his name, so I'm just going to say David A. He wants to be a co-host one of these days. Of course, David, you are more than welcome to. He's always very tuned in to the Quirky Question of the Day. I appreciate that. That's why I didn't even attempt his last name. Also, Catherine Maloney, I'm going to just paraphrase this because she has a lot of F words in here. She basically said on the Quirky Question of the Day, don't take a blue gig. I mean, kind of leave the blue gigs to the folks who do the blue material. And then my good friend Christopher Murphy from Iowa, he said even in church they have a sit in our own pew. And I'm assuming he means the blue people even in church that have their own pew. That's my take on it. So, all righty. Well, thank you.
Those are all good responses. I'm not a great fit for comedy clubs. I mean, I've done some clubs showcase stuff, and it went really well. But is it where I'm the most comfortable? No, I'm more comfortable in churches. And the great thing about comedy is, it's just there's a whole lot more venues beyond the clubs.
I agree. Speaking of clubs, you have a big gig this weekend locally. Do you wanna pimp that out?
Oh, time for the shameless plug. Let me clear my throat. All right, cool. Yep, I'm going to be hosting at Snappers with Michelle. And Michelle's the headline, and Johnny Oz, very strong Johnny Oz, is on the bill as well. Feature act. Juanita Lolita, I guess, had a conflicting schedule, so they put Johnny in there, which was a good choice. I've seen Johnny. I like Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny's a really good choice. We're gonna call Juanita a little bit later on. She's just a powerhouse of comedy. I mean, every time I hear about her, she's just gotten better and better. And yeah, she's awesome. I mean, she does the Christian stuff. She's headlining just the regular clubs. So I have a feeling you guys are gonna have a really great show.
Yeah, I think that about her, that she goes in the clubs. Juanita as well. I have actually met Michelle last June at Christian Comedy Association convention, and she got one of the showcase night slots, which was good. She did real good. And Juanita, we spent about 700 miles in the car together, driving there and halfway back.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so some wife named Frank and Juanita bonded pretty tight.
Actually, speaking of Juanita, she is waiting for her phone call. So thank you very much for calling in, some guy named Frank. And you ever want to come on the Quirky Bird Show, just let me know. And I'm sorry to be a little bit rushed, but nothing worked today.
No, I appreciate it. Can I stay on the line and listen, or does he have to drop me out?
I don't know. Hey, Nolan, can some guy named Frank stay on the line and listen? Can Frank stay on the line if you call Juanita? Oh, okay. Yeah, he sure can. All righty.
Okay, cool. I'd love to hear it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
No, now we're going to do the typical radio banter. So here on theartsradio.com, we got some guy named Frank. Hey, some guy, how's the traffic out there? That's the helicopter sound.
Moving right along, for lack of a clever answer at the moment.
Okay.
Give me about 5 minutes. I'll think of something snarky to say.
Now we're going to go to some guy named Frank and the weather. How's the weather, some guy named Frank?
Well, as George Carlin used to say, tonight's forecast, dark. Remaining dark throughout the night, getting partially light by morning. I love that.
I think we have Juanita shortly. I'm looking at the Skype. In the crazy technology of Skype. Do we have her up? Okay. This is super classy. We're just having the ring on here and everything.
I'll be quiet now.
Hello.
Hey, Juanita, you are live on air on the QuirkyBirdShow.com. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good. How are you?
Pretty good. We've got a special guest on with us. Some guy named Frank graciously called in. So it's like old home week.
Wow, awesome. Sounds good.
Now, as I had told you earlier, today's topic on the Quirky Bird Show is Christian comedy. And how long have you been doing comedy?
I did my first open mic December of 2008, but I didn't do anything with it for a couple years. So, but as of April last year was when I really started.
Okay.
Comedy.
Now, were you always? Did you always have plans to make the comedy Christian comedy, or were you wanting to get into comedy? And then... I
actually never had plans to be a comedian. It was never a thought ever. Someone else signed me up for an open mic night, and that's just how it went. And I'm a clean person, so clean comedy just kind of came natural for me. And I just realized that out there really wasn't clean comedians, especially female clean. So and so I saw that as an opportunity, and then I took it.
Okay. Well, then how did you, is it because you sort of grew up in faith, how did you take it and then go from comedian to clean comedian to Christian comedian?
Well, well, I've always been a Christian, so I don't really think of it as, okay, I'm a Christian comedian. I'm a comedian that's a Christian.
Okay.
And I just do all clean comedy. That's the whole thing. And, it's not because I don't like other comedy. I like all forms of comedy, but I do my comedy in the comedy clubs for a different reason, and I do it to promote Jesus Christ, and I want people to know that.
Okay. Okay, that's kind of what Frank and I earlier in the discussion were talking about. You sell the best comedy, basically who you are. So I mean that sort of, if you feel more comfortable, if you were raised Christian, you feel more comfortable doing clean comedy, you're probably going to sell it more than even if you tried to do some sort of a blue joke.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's easier to do darker comedy. I think it's easier to just throw in the curse words there and do something to get a laugh. Because I even find with myself that, I'll think, man, if I would just say this word right here, it would really just throw it over the edge. And I know that it would. But, my priorities are beyond that,
You're sticking to your moral compass.
It's like, I'm not going to do it.
Well, that's good. You're out there tearing up the world. You're doing comedy full time now.
Yes, I'm full time.
Okay.
So, but in a very short amount of time. So that's why I believe that this is where God wants me, and it's what He wants me to do, because He's put me in front of the people that I need to be in front of. That in a very short amount of time, I'm already with the Comedy Zone, and I'm already with Bunkers, and I'm already, with all these clubs that, other comedians are like, man, how are you doing this so quick? And, all I can say is it's not what you know, it's who you know, and then just point to the sky, That's all I can say. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. But I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, my daughter's here and Nolan's torturing her in front of me, so that's good times.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. See, you're missing out. Juanita was supposed to be here, and your horse.
I know. I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there so bad.
Your horse has chronic COPD.
He has COPD. Yes. We've noticed that he's been breathing heavy for a while. Kind of like a bad obscene phone call, and he wasn't getting better, and he has a slight cough, and it would get a little better and then worse and better and worse, and then the vet came out and told us he has COPD. So now we have a horse on steroids. So.
Does he have to have like a little nerd horse inhaler or anything?
No, thank goodness.
Okay.
Thank goodness. So I guess you can say basically it's hay fever. I don't know. That's what I said because that's what they eat. So maybe it's hay fever. So as long as I can keep the steroids away from my husband, we're okay.
Yeah, you always hear people on horse steroids. You've never heard a horse on people steroids. That's see.
I know. So yeah, exactly. They're horse steroids. So I'm just waiting for him to say oh yeah, I don't know where that bottle went, honey.
So you got
but you like my muscles?
So you've got 3 bits just waiting there to happen.
Yes, I know it.
Just from your horse getting sick, you just have a world of comedy.
Yeah, I wish you hadn't mentioned heavy breathing.
Yeah, right.
Because then the struggle of the flesh.
Oh, sorry.
What did he say?
He's got that Metro PCS.
He's got the Metro PCS. That's that's okay. I think we.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, okay, we somehow lost some guy named Frank. So you know what? He's gone, but he's
somehow lost some guy because of some network.
Somehow we lost some guy named Frank. Now I've seen your act many a time, and you do very much character work. How did you start getting into character? Because you have accents and you're very actressy, for lack of a better term.
Actually, that's where it all derives from. Is I, like I said, never thought about doing stand-up comedy. And I was involved in a dinner theater at the Bellevue Biltmore Hotel called the Detective Dinner Theater.
Oh,
and
okay.
It was an improv comedy kind of thing where we had our script, but then in the intermission times, we'd stay in our character, which, whatever that character happened to be, that's where we'd stay. And then we'd walk from table to table, and they'd ask us questions, and and we would answer the questions for them and whatever they wanted us to do, and we stay in the character. And that was my favorite part, was just, being out there and talking to them and, joking with them one-on-one and doing whatever I wanted to do. So that's when somebody that worked with me there, he saw me and he said, I think you would be brilliant doing stand-up comedy. And I said, well, possibly, one time I'll do it, but I wasn't really sure that he was going to do it for me. And the next thing you know, I get a phone call from Sites Bladers Comedy Club telling me I have 7 minutes. And I was like, holy cow, what am I going to do now? So that's how it all started. And I just noticed that doing it up on stage made people laugh and they enjoyed it. So it's okay. There you go.
It does. It does. I think there's no other rush I've ever gotten in my lifetime, and I've done a lot of things to try to get rushes, like being on stage. I mean, being on stage is pretty. Like you said, you tried it once and it kind of stuck. I mean, I think that is a calling of sorts. Like when you get on and you do something, and you're like, wow, I don't want to be any place but this. Is that how you felt when you're on stage?
Yes, and it's how I've always felt. I mean, I was in drama in high school. Way back when I was in drama, and I loved it. And I did it to get out of my shell because I was actually a very, very shy girl. And doing just being in acting in school got me out of that, and I enjoyed that. And right out of school, I got married and had my daughter, and I never thought that I would do this, that this would be a career, or that this would be, entertainment of any sort.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of figure, okay, that's gone and it's not going to happen, and that's all right. I enjoyed it in high school, and I enjoyed my little awards way back then, live off of that.
Back in the day.
And then for God, yeah, exactly, yay. And then now for God to give me this again, to give me my dream just because I'm promoting him. It's like, really? That this I'm still in awe of it. I mean, I've never seen the state of Florida. I've lived, born and raised right here in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Uh-huh.
And I never thought I would see the state. I never thought I would travel and go places. And it's like, I am. I'm this next weekend I'm in Vero, and the weekend after that I'm in Orlando, and then Daytona, and I've actually went to Tennessee and Georgia, and I'm just so grateful. I'm so blessed, and that's that's all I can say. It's like, wow, it's crazy. I'm so happy. I'm just so happy because I'm in my 40s. I'm like, really, Lord, now you're gonna give me this now. I'm old now, really. But it's the best time because he knew it's perfect. It's God's perfect timing, because my daughter graduated college. She's married. She's on her own now. And, me being able to walk away from my lawn care business and walk away from Publix at a time that now my parents are getting older and they're needing me more. And my daughter, I'm grandma now, so I'm able to babysit my grandbabies. I mean, it's just,
yes.
He had a plan the whole time. I just want to see the blueprints. That's all I can say. It's like,
I just wanted a sneak peek.
Just let me glance. Let me glance at the blueprints. Please let me see them. So,
you told me a story one time, and it's one of those stories that still sticks with me. And I often think about it because comedy is and I know you've experienced this. Comedy is high highs and low lows. And sometimes when you feel like you're doing so great, you sort of get like a reality check. And I remember you telling me that and if I'm telling the story, forgive me, it's just how I remember it. You were asked to go to some seminar or some big hoopla thing, and they picked you up in a stretch limo, and you went in front of thousands of people, you killed, and you came back home, and then that next Monday you were driving a lawnmower in your lawn business.
Oh yeah, I was on a lawnmower, right, exactly. Yeah, when I very first, I realized, I counted back, and that was only my 15th time on stage.
That's amazing.
And I was flown to Atlanta, Georgia to perform for Creflo and Taffy Dollar at Taffy Dollar's Women's Conference. And he's a televangelist, major. And, I couldn't believe it. They flew me out there. They paid me $600, which I was like, oh my God, how many lawns I'd have to mow for $600?
It's like $1 million in comedy money.
I couldn't believe it. It was crazy. And, they picked me up at the airport. I had a chauffeur. I had a driver. I had an assistant that carried my bags when I got off the plane, you know.
Wow.
And when I'm walking downstairs, I'm coming down the escalator, and they called and they said, "Miss Williams, we are outside and we have your name, on a board." And I was like so geeky. I ran over and I had my husband take a picture. I'm like, "Let's take a picture." And have me standing next to this,
It's
thing.
just like on the TV.
So, yeah, it was definitely eye-opening, and it was amazing, and it was perfect because before that I hadn't done much. I had only done, one or two contests at Side Splitters. I mean, little nothings,
Mm-hmm.
never ever done 20 minutes, and that's what they had hired me to do, was 20 minutes. And my husband really wasn't for comedy. He was just like, okay, you're in a bar, you're performing, he really didn't care for it.
Mm-hmm.
And since he was able to go with me and see that and see how they treated me and just how wonderful it was, it just opened his eyes up to a whole other world,
Wow.
But walking out on that stage in front of, over 7,000 women,
Oh my
and
goodness.
doing my comedy, and then just, the uproar and how it was. And that's when I first started. So, it's like, if I wish I could go back now with what I know. With my comedy, I wish I knew. But when I got off stage, I just cried. I just literally cried. And the Lord spoke to me and he said, "I'm going to give you this. I will
Wow.
give you churches. I will give you these events, but this isn't where I want you. I want you in the clubs.
Wow.
I want you to spread the love of Jesus Christ somewhere where he's not at."
Now,
So that's why.
have you found that people relate to you? Like, a lot of people just go out like to Bonkers or the Comedy Zone, just have a couple beers and, spend time with the gal or whatever. Have people ever come up to you and say, thank you for being who you are, opposed to what they were expecting to see?
Yeah, actually I do. And I have to tell you, like, there's times that I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I do my clean comedy, and then at the end I tell them why. This is why I do clean comedy. It's not because I have a problem. I do it to glorify God. I say that at the end of my routine before I do my last, my last few jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have a T-shirt designed that says "Stand Up for Him," and it's a brick wall with a spotlight and a cross.
Very
and
sweet.
I sell those T-shirts. Thank you. And I actually sell the shirts at secular clubs. People buy them. And I have people that will come up to me after the show and say, "I'm a Christian, and it was so nice to hear somebody say that." And, but I think what I like more than anything is when people will come up and say, "You know what? I didn't even know you were clean. I didn't even realize it until you said something."
Yes.
And then I had to think back over your routine and go, "That's right. She didn't say anything. She didn't, because they were just laughing and having a good time." And that's what I want. I don't want people that think, "Oh, she's a Christian, she's clean, it's not going to be funny, I'm not going to relate."
Yeah.
And and I think that's it. It's all God. It's not. I don't write these jokes. He does. He gives it to me. He has a sense of humor. He created man. Come on, it's all him. So I just channel it. I guess.
Absolutely. I've watched Oprah Winfrey, Super Soul Sunday, and they had the guy on who plays Dwight Schrute. I don't know if I don't know. What's his name? Rainn Wilson. And his whatever religion he's in, it's this religion out of Chicago. Anyway, his theory was, when you work your art, that's equal to praying, because his theory is, if God gave you a gift and you create it and you do it, which is God's gift, then in essence, doing your gift is equal to praying. I thought that was kind of a different concept of logic. I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of a different concept. I will have to. I agree with him 100% that God gives us all different talents. I completely agree with that. I don't think there's anybody out there that is not talented in some way. Maybe they can't stand up and say jokes, or, like my daughter, she's a wonderful singer. I can't sing. And I know she didn't get it from my mama, because my mama can't sing either. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening. But, all of us have a talent. And my mom used to have this thing on the refrigerator growing up, and I remember it, and it was like, God speaks to us all differently, hoping we'll tell each other. And I think it's the same thing with our gifts. I think that these gifts that we have are to outreach and go to other people to let them know, because this world is just like, I mean, it's just going downhill fast, and people are so self-centered, and they don't realize that it's like God loves them. He sent his son for them, that, there's a whole other world. There's so much joy out there, and, they don't see it. And it's our job to let them know, that they don't have to be the way they are.
Very
There's
awesome.
hope.
Very awesome. Well, thank you so much, Juanita. Keep on doing what you're doing. I hate to rush you, but
Thank you.
we're like
Oh,
10
that's
minutes off. I got in here and nothing started. Like, I don't know. I had to like a lawnmower pull my laptop to work. But,
Yeah, because I was at my parents' house before I came, and I tried to set it up for them to listen, and it said this website's experiencing difficulties. I'm like, oh, well, okay then.
Yeah, because Robin was experiencing difficulties.
Robin, it was a little quirky. It's your fault. You named it that. What do you want?
I did. What should I expect?
Bird. Should have been Eagle Vision or something, because that'll work.
Precise sleekness. That's what I should have called it. So
that's right.
I've got a is Nolan out there? I've got a call coming into Michelle, going out to Michelle Miller Harrington. But I'll take this time to plug absolutely anything that you want to plug. Any shows coming up? Any Facebooks, websites people can go visit yet?
Yes, I actually have a lot of shows, praise the Lord, coming up. Go to www.juanitalolita.com. If you can't spell Juanita, you can also go standupforhim.com. And it has all my dates on there. So if anyone wants to hire me, birthday parties, bar mitzvahs, you name it, I'm there. So you give me $1 and I will perform.
I'll tell you a joke. I'll shuck and jive.
That doesn't sound right. Okay.
All righty. Thank you so much for calling in, Juanita.
Thanks, Robin. All right. Bye.
Hey, Nolan, do we have our other guest on the line? Do we have our other guest on the line? Okay. And are you taking care of my daughter? Because I haven't seen her in the window. She's still alive?
She fell, and she's not really getting up really normally. Her arm is a little twisted. Her neck has a little hinge towards it. She kind of looks really like you when you walk.
It does. That's who she gets it from. So
yeah, I'm trying to get this other guest on the phone right now. Just a minute.
Oh, not a problem. For those of you guys who obviously only see this part of the studio, it's mayhem and madness. My good friend Sharon Nolan, she does another show. She brings her daughter, who's about 3 years older than my daughter. Sharon's waving, and so it's little girl mayhem right outside of our door, and it's good times. It's like family here, so that's what we want. We've had an absolutely fantastic show. We've had Juanita Lolita. She called in talking about Christian comedy. Some guy named Frank calling in. And actually, I think his name is Frank. And he's a guy. He's a fella. He's a man. And so we've got good times. We're calling Michelle Miller Harrington on the line. She started comedy a few years ago, and she's getting to be quite the superstar. I think we're not calling Juanita again, are we?
I'm actually still on the phone.
Oh, are you? Okay, then you're just hearing me babble like a crazy person.
So I was like, do I hang up? Am I supposed to hang up? Am I supposed to hang up?
I think we're calling Michelle now. Okay, I think this is the part where you actually do hang up. So
okay, I hang up. I never done this kind of thing before. So I was a little worried.
What's this crazy Skype?
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Juanita. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. So we've got... Okay. I actually hear my daughter, so I know she doesn't have a bum arm or neck like one was led to believe. Okay. Michelle's new name is Invalid Phone Number. So we are... Okay. We're here working away. This is the beautiful magic of radio here. We got folks that were trying to call in, and folks that we thought were on the phone were off the phone. Folks that we thought were off the phone, and I actually think I just typed that number to you folks. There we go. Were you calling in Madrid or? Okay, no, that's okay. We can keep the number here in in the good old US of A. Okay, I think we are getting Michelle on the line. Let's see. We're Skyping her as it comes in. Michelle Miller Harrington, folks, comedian extraordinaire. Once again, we have the actual classy ringing here. That's how we roll. Good times. You know, it'd be fun if we just got her answering machine. That'd be great too.
Hello.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, this is Robin on the QuirkyBird.com. We are so classy. We just put you right on air. How are you doing today, Michelle?
I am wonderful. How are you guys doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. We're running a little bit behind, so I do apologize. I met you several years ago, and since then, it seems like you have just skyrocketed. You're out there. You just came back from Vegas, didn't you?
I did. It was really great. It really has been like a rocket ride. I never expected it to go this quickly, but I am very excited and happy and along for the ride.
I heard that you made it to the finals of the Florida's Funniest Comedian.
I did, yes, I did.
I was gonna say I hear good things about you every time I hear like someone said, oh, I saw Michelle. They say, I mean, you've always been funny, but they're like, she's even funnier. And then I like see someone who sees you 6 months ago and they're like, she's even funnier. So you.
Yeah, I'm constantly trying to work on getting better at what we do. It's a learning process, and then the not just the material, but who we are on stage in our show, I think continues to grow and to get better as we do it. The more we do it, the better we become and change, so that the audiences don't see the same show over and over and over again. They actually get something fresh every time they come.
Oh, okay. Wow. See, I still tell the same joke, so I'm learning from you, Michelle.
Well, I'm weird, I guess. I'm just weird.
No, I'm teasing. I try to change it up every now and again. But our topic today is Christian comedy, and you're a clean comedian, and you are also a Christian comedian, correct?
I am. I like to have a lot of labels.
It's good to label people. It's good to put people in a box. That's what I love to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it works.
Now, when you first started comedy, did you start out to be like a particular comic, or did you just want to go up there and tell jokes, and it just sort of worked out that you were a clean comedian?
No, I mean, really what happened was I was a part of a church who planned a women's event, and they hired a Christian, comedian to come in, and I really didn't know that that was an option. I didn't realize that being a comedian and being paid to do that was even feasible, much less in a market where you could be clean and even in an area that you could talk about your beliefs. I didn't even know that those outlets were available, and I was just really blessed that the woman who was there had started in clubs and then went to churches, so she understood the difference and dynamics of it, and actually recommended that I find a comedy club and get on stage as much as I could. And that's kind of just what I did, yeah.
That's interesting. So you met someone who was making a whole career in a craft and being a Christian comedian, but she recommended that you start in the clubs and do like the traditional comedy route.
Yeah, the club comedy and church comedy are totally different worlds. The crowds are different. Some material can be set the same, but even the speed of your material and how you express your material is all different. I guess some people do the same, but for me, every show is crafted for the audience, and so they all get an experience. I don't change my belief system or, change for the audience. I just customize it for their crowd that I'm with.
Okay.
And she knew that solid comics learned a lot from clubs because it really makes you strong to go into a club and be clean.
Now that was part of my quirky question of the day, and I'm not necessarily a Christian comedian, but I do work really clean, not really clean, fairly clean. But I've been in situations where I'm either like at a bar gig and you can tell the people aren't wanting the clean stuff. How do you deal with that as a Christian comedian? Because you can, like, I always heard you should have like a dirty set and a clean set. But if you're a Christian and you're really against who you are to have that dirty set, how do you sort of deal with being in front of a crowd who just wants blue material?
Well, I think that's what made me stronger faster on stage was because I was starting at open mics where everybody was extremely dirty,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to come out with something good. It can't just be dirty good. It has to be clever and wise. I'm not saying I'm clever or wise. I'm just saying I'm pretty good at pretending I am.
You're both clever
You
and
know,
wise,
if
Michelle.
funny's funny. Yeah, funny's funny. I did ask a lot if I could go first or if I could go in the third or fourth. But I feel like a lot of the times that I was in those bar scenes have what made me stronger now, because you don't just tell jokes, you perform an entire act.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to learn to sell your facial expressions and your whole body when you do a joke. And those hard gigs that are really blue, I think are what make you able to handle rooms when you do longer sets as a feature or a headliner in rooms like that.
I agree. I agree. I remember when I first started comedy, it would scare me to death, like if it was a huge crowd I was in front of. And now, I mean, I could almost fall asleep in front of a huge crowd because it's like big crowds, big laughs, and it's kind of the same thing. I mean, if you're if you're a Christian comedian in front of a bar audience, once you get into the churches, it's probably like making a cake. I mean, it's probably easy.
Well, and it really depends on the church crowd. I mean, every church is different, and just like every bar is different, every church is different, and you kind of have to know your limitations. And like I know there's different labels of I'm a Christian who's a comedian, or I'm a Christian comedian, and all these different things. I'm a person first, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
more than anything, I want to be known as a comedian. I want to be known as funny. All the other stuff aside, Christian is how I walk, not how I perform.
Okay.
It's how I like to say it, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
and to me, the way you are off stage should speak a lot louder in your belief in your walk than what you say on stage.
Absolutely.
That's my. And you're right. Clean, whether you're clean for whatever reason you're clean, comedy can be harder. There are no cheap laughs in clean comedy. You're
There's
not going to
not.
throw out a four-letter word and get that dirty shock laugh off of it. It's not going to happen.
I have maybe 5 minutes of dirty material, and it's not like filthy material. It's more like PG-13 material. And I was in Naples one time, and I did a show, and then the last 5 minutes I did my dirty material, and they were all disappointed. Like, why didn't you do that first? I'm like, because you wouldn't have liked me. That was all my dirty stuff. You wouldn't have liked me afterwards.
And I guess there's different levels of what you call dirty.
Mhm.
Everybody has a different idea of what clean is, and everybody has a different idea of what dirty is. What some people say that some of the things I say are dirty, which aren't really dirty. Like, I actually am just talking about real life. I'm talking about a real life circumstance that happened, and I'm not doing it in a dirty format. If your mind takes it dirty, that's not me being dirty. That's you taking it dirty.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and also too, I just got a good point on the instant message. It also it goes to innuendo. I mean, you could actually, a dirty comedian and a clean comedian and a Christian comedian could all talk about the exact same thing, but it's sort of, I guess, the adverbs you use or the how you use to describe them. Adjectives, that's what I'm trying to say. The adjectives you use to describe them. Adverbs. Run fast. I don't even know what I'm saying.
I don't know. We didn't make it through third grade. I don't know how this happened. I don't know.
I went to school in Missouri, so I don't exactly know the right words to say.
I'm real, and so for me, my material comes out of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and so there really isn't a whole lot that is off topic for me. I just know what crowds to say it in and what not. It's I'm respectful of where I am, and and I really hate when people say you're a Christian comedian because automatically they think that my comedy is watered down and it's all about Jesus. It's not. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
For me, it's not. I know some Christian comedians believe that if you are calling yourself a Christian comedian, then you need to be speaking about Christ every time you're on stage. I don't necessarily believe that way.
So sometimes sometimes your act. I mean, like if you're at like a bar gig, would you bring up that you're a Christian comedian, or would you just do your clean set?
It really depends on how I feel during the show. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If you're a Christian plumber, You're not walking into every house going, "Hey, I'm gonna plumb your toilet for Jesus." That's not how it works. And so my job is being a comedian. Our job is to be funny, and the Christian part of it should shine through that, not me yelling that at somebody. So.
Where's my snake? It's been blessed. Where's my snake? I got that. Is a
yeah. I tried that. It didn't work out.
That is a beautiful analogy.
I don't know. That was what came to my mind. I mean, it's right. It came.
No, that was great. You're absolutely right. I mean, in every profession, in every religion. I mean, if yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's a beautiful analogy. I very much like that.
You know, and you're right. It can be the same way for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to go to a show, especially now. If you're at church, yes, they're there for a message. You need to give them a message. But if you're at a club, you've been hired to be funny. So for your entire time that you're hired to be there, be funny. If you can be funny and talk about your beliefs, do that. But make sure that that's what's happening. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we're Facebook friends, and it just seems like, I mean, you went to the World Series of Comedy in Las Vegas. I know that you're going to be here locally. Some guy named Frank had called in. You're headlining Snappers this weekend, aren't you?
I am. I'm very excited. It's my first time down there. I'm thrilled to be there. I'm really excited about it, obviously.
I would say it's
every time.
it's a good club, and you're going to have a lot of fun. I think you probably met Frank, but your feature is a guy named Johnny. It's not some guy named Johnny. That's some guy named Frank. His name's actually Johnny Oz, and he's a really good guy. You'll have a great weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited. And then you know, the next weekend we're in Daytona, then we're off to Alabama, and that's just keep the ball going. You know.
Oh. Now you've got little kids. I always talk about my kids, but your kids are smaller than mine. Do you take them with you when you travel?
95% of the time. They go everywhere with me. They're 6 and 2, and you know, I didn't start comedy to get away from them, so they tend to every hotel room I'm in, they're in there. So there's not a lot of me hanging out after the show or doing anything much like that. I talk to people, but then I'm back in the room, you know, snuggling with my kiddos. I want them with me as much as possible.
I was gonna say I've brought my kids on the road several times. I did the whole Jackie Knight room run, and they went Cocoa Lake. It's like a big M across the state. Cocoa, Lakeland, and St. Augustine. And it's different when you have your kids with you, but you're right. I always feel like I've got the best of both worlds when they are with me. It's like I'm getting to do what I love, and then I'm not missing them, and I know that they're safe with me. And yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that's truly, you know, great when you can have everything you want and still do what you love.
Yeah, well, my son has been, you know, I've been doing comedy since he was a year old. And so he started kindergarten this year, and he's homeschooled for that reason. You know, if I go to do a run in Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia for a week and a half, he's going. They're going.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do school from home, and we're going to check out the zoos, and, you know, we're going to do all that stuff so that they can be on the road with me. It's a different kind of life, but, you know, so far we really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what I've been noticing too. I mean, just because it's a different kind of life doesn't mean it's a bad life. I mean, you know, gosh, my kids have done so many weird things. I mean, I bring my daughter to the radio station. I mean, not very many kids can be like, "What'd you do on a Tuesday night?" "I watch Happy Days. I went to my mom's radio station." You know.
Well, like, you know, Graham, my son, when I was my first year in comedy, I ran my own comedy night once a month, and you know, the kid was barely talking, and he was on stage telling baby talk jokes. So they don't really have a fear of stage or anything like that. They're like a magnet to a microphone.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm getting hand gestures in the booth. We got the next show coming in. Please plug absolutely anything that's coming up, and thank you so much for being a guest. You were delightful.
Oh, thank you. I'm actually going to be on Nick Jr.'s Mom's Night Out.
That's right.
The TV show coming out next week. Love to you guys to see that on a stand-up comedy special. I would love for everybody to tune in for that.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you so much for Michelle for being a part of this. And thank you guys. Next week we've got big show coming up. So I tell you the details, but I kind of forgot them. So we will talk to you later. And thank you for tuning into the Quirky Bird Show. And we will see you next Tuesday. You can take us out, Nolan.
Bye.